And welcome to Around the Ozarks Spotlight. Each week we uncover the stories behind the people who live and work here in Southwest Missouri. Those individuals with entrepreneurial spirit who work to better the lives of others or even put pen to paper to write books about the stories and history of the Ozarks and its people. I'm your host, Scott Meier, and today we're going to explore the world of fundraising. And I know sometimes that doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but I've got some fun guests with me to talk about it. Here in the Springfield area, it's the McDonald's owner-operators who are kicking in and helping out. And along with my guest, one of the owner-operators, Ashley Kalil. Hi, Ashley. We can see her in the corner.
Hello.
This is new for me. Normally, I don't have two people on two separate things. So that's pretty cool. And the RMHC, the Ronald McDonald House Charities CEO, Bonnie Keller. Hello, Bonnie.
Hi, Scott.
And this is where you go. Now, Bonnie, you've been doing that a long time, but I would never say that because that would suggest you were more than 35 years old. So how long have you been the CEO of RMHC Charities?
I've been for over 30 years. I've been CEO.
Okay.
And Ashley has been around pretty much the whole time. I remember meeting you right when I became CEO. So,
Ashley, is that right? You've been involved in the stores for 30 years?
I have.
she's been
in some ways.
exposed.
My father is an owner-operator, and I'm a next gen or a second gen. So I met Bonnie a long, long time ago when I was young, and they were dedicating the original house here in Springfield.
Is that right? Oh, my goodness. And they've come a long way since then. I mean, Bonnie, now you're managing the house and what else?
We have a second Ronald McDonald House at Mercy Kids, and then our Ronald McDonald Caremobile that we call the Tooth Truck. We just celebrated 20 years.
That's amazing. And didn't you get, as I recall, didn't the Tooth Truck receive a grant to be able to make some changes?
Yes, we were able to, through Springfield Public Schools, we received some ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act, of $538,000. So we could purchase a second replacement tooth truck. So now we've got the most state-of-the-art mobile clinic you can have. And we've been on the road since January.
And that's amazing. And that's not everywhere. I'm not sure the Tooth Truck can be found in any other markets, can they? Or is that a Springfield original?
Well, yeah, the Ronald McDonald Caremobile program, there's 40 in the program, and we're the only one in Missouri.
Yeah.
There are some other mobile clinics in the area, but we take care of all dental for kids. And with our first truck, we were able to impact 30,000 kids.
That's amazing. My guests today on Around the Ozarks Spotlight include Bonnie Keller. Bonnie, the longtime CEO for Ronald McDonald House Charities. And also, I've got Ashley Kalil, who's second gen as an owner-operator of some of the local McDonald's. One of the things we were talking about before we started the broadcast, and I think, Bonnie, even before you were on screen, obviously because you were sneaking around in the back and listening to us. But the big thing for me over the years for Ronald McDonald House Charities, has been people think that McDonald's corporate up in Chicago just brings out a big fat checkbook every year and writes you millions of dollars in checks and says, here, go operate these beautiful facilities for the parents of children that are getting attention at the area hospitals. And it doesn't quite work like that, does it, Bonnie?
Well, no, it doesn't. But this is the great way that it does work. McDonald's is our founding mission partner from the very beginning. And so we are supported in many, many ways, whether it be Roundup for RMHC, where the customers can get involved, our Share a Heart campaign. One thing that we're very excited about is Penny for a Pound of Fries. And that's a program that the local owner-operators choose to do. And the local owner-operators pay for everything, which is so great to make that commitment to the organization.
Well, as a local owner-operator, Ashley, why don't you talk about that a little bit? How does that work? How many operators are there in the Ozark area? How many different operators?
Oh man, Scott, you're going to start me with a hard question. I think there's maybe 16.
Okay. I think,
16, 17.
sometimes I'm not sure people realize that a lot of the stores aren't corporate stores, right? That they are, in fact,
None of them are
small businesses. And you're going through all the same hair pulling that everybody else is with a small business, right? Getting people
Yes.
paying people, trying to keep your cost of business down. And at the same time, you're finding ways to help raise money for causes like pennies per pound.
Right. Right. It is something that is so neat and so simple. And so it was such a no-brainer for the owner operators because people love our French fries. And so for us to donate a penny for every pound, it just seemed like, okay, why not? And so we've been doing it actually since 2018. And Bonnie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think since 2018, we've raised a little over $310,000 just in the penny for a pound program. So people love our fries and it results in funding the Ronald McDonald houses. And what's so neat too for us as owners is that money stays here. So it's not like it goes out anywhere in a big pool for any Ronald McDonald house. We know that that funds these local houses and the tooth truck. And so that is just so important to us.
You know, I did a little research for this broadcast on Friday of last week. I stopped at a local McDonald's store and I actually bought a large fry, which I haven't done in a long time. And you know what? They're as good as they've ever been. And shame on me. I did share them with my wife. I figured I better try to behave a little bit, but I wanted to make sure they were still as good as they always have been, and they are.
Well, good. I'm so glad you did that research.
Absolutely. Well, somebody has to, and that's what now that I'm 80% retired, that's what I try to do. My guests today on Around the Ozark Spotlight are Bonnie Keller, who's been on the program before talking about Ronald McDonald House Charities, where she's the CEO, and new to the program this time is Ashley Kalil. Ashley's second generation owner operator. Let's talk about that if we can for just a little bit, Ashley. You're born and raised in Springfield?
I was, yes. Born and raised, grew up around McDonald's and came back about 10 years ago to join the family business and have been working my way through. It's a pretty long program to become an owner operator and was just approved this past December to.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Did you have to go to McDonald's U for that? Is that
I did, yes. Hamburger University up in Chicago. Yeah. We all get to attend it. It's a lot of fun. It's more than just eating hamburgers. It's actually a pretty tough course.
I bet.
But we do. We all get to go.
So what was it like growing up in a family? So I take it your parents have had the stores for a long time?
42 years is how long my dad has
42 years. And he's had 5?
He has owned a lot of different ones here in Springfield. He actually started out in Nebraska, and then lived in Colorado. And then actually my great uncle was one of the original owners here in Springfield, Tom Tucker. And he moved back when Uncle Tom retired and he purchased the stores from him.
That's, it's amazing. I've had the privilege, and Bonnie knows this. I've worked with a lot of owner operators across the country. And the stories are really amazing in the sense that I think a lot of people think you just walk in and throw a little money around and all of a sudden you become an owner. It doesn't work like that.
No, it does not. It has become quite a program to go through. And what's great is McDonald's is such a behemoth of a company that they really want to make sure you're representing them well. So they train you well. They give you financial trainings. They give you people trainings. They give you all different kinds of trainings so that once they say you're approved, you can stand on your own 2 feet, which is I'm very appreciative for. So
growing up in a family like that, do you have siblings?
No, I'm an only child.
Oh, really? So you're the princess in a family that owns McDonald's stores. When did you I guess bag your first bag of fries? Back in the day, they had bags.
Oh my goodness. When I was little, I always wanted to do fries. My dad wouldn't let me back behind the counter until I was probably 10. But probably when I was 10, I was put on a milk crate and shown how to do it. So yeah, I mean, I've been around it my whole life. All my birthday parties when I was younger were out in the playlands with the old cakes with the little sugar animals, characters on top. And yeah, I mean, some of my sweetest memories are of that on top of my parents always come home smelling like French fries. Always.
I'm thinking when they had the drafts for the local softball teams, I bet your name came up first all the time because, well, heck, what better family to have on the team than somebody who could do the team dinner or lunch or whatever.
Every sports team I was on from 3rd grade on was named Mac Attack. So
really,
it was yep. just a family tradition
Mhm.
around here. That's for sure.
Well, we always, when I was coaching, we were always looking for the kids that had pools too. So that's
Oh yeah.
didn't
Very
matter if they could catch a ball, but if they had a pool, then we could always count on them having a picnic or a party.
absolutely.
Let's get back to what the McDonald houses do, if we can, Bonnie, for just a minute before we get into the pound for. Why have I not got it in front of me here? Let's
Penny
get it
for a
right. Well, I got to get it
Penny
right.
per pound.
Penny for pound. Yeah, shame on me.
Yeah.
Between the red shoe and I mean, there's so many things. Penny per pound. That's the beauty of it being a podcast and a broadcast. We can always change all that stuff. So we were talking about, fundraising for the McDonald House charities. But that aside for a minute, touch on, if you will, a little bit about the why. Why is there a Ronald McDonald House? Why do they even exist?
One of the most important parts of the Ronald McDonald House mission is keeping families together while they're going through, I think almost every one of our families would say, the most difficult time of their lives, having a sick or injured child. And usually the sickest kids that travel the furthest distances are staying at the Ronald McDonald houses.
Mm-hmm.
So these families have the opportunity to know where their home base is when they're in a strange town. They have other people surrounding them that are going through a very similar situation. And to know that your next meal and where you're going to lay your head at night is covered, and that our staff and volunteers will do everything we can for each individual family to make their journey as easy as possible during a most difficult time. So that way they can focus on the health of their child, being by their child's side, and taking care of their family. So the family is together. And it's just one of those things you just can't put a price on, but it's an experience that none of us want to have. And so for collectively to have the community and our McDonald's family and everyone working together to make this possible is so significant. And one thing I'd like to mention too, when you talk about our McDonald's family and the fact that these are small business owners, the fact that our McDonald's owners and restaurants are involved every single day, making sure that RMHC of the Ozarks is thriving and has resources and people. And it's such a great example for the community. Just rounding up for RMHC, it's like you have that reminder every day that RMHC needs help. And I think that McDonald's has always taken such a leadership role in encouraging the communities to get involved. So it's really the perfect marriage between McDonald's and the community to support the Ronald McDonald House.
Well, and I hope people also remember to drop their change. I know a lot of the stores still have the little change box when you go to pay your bill, and I'm sure that's been affected by people that use credit cards now. And I think sometimes people forget that when you're not using cash, I mean, that's one more way to help the houses is to give your change. So I implore folks that when you can, obviously, please try to give them cash when you pay for your meal, because it's a great way to be able to take that the spare change and put it in the charity box. It's right there, and it's just so amazing. So the houses came first, but then you started doing houses in the hospitals. Let's talk about that a little bit at Mercy. That really puts the parents with the child, doesn't it?
It really does. There's so much security to know that you are just steps away from your child. And it really allows you to truly rest because you know your child's right there. And I don't know, I just think it's added such an element of security for the families. We try really hard to make sure our families feel that way at our freestanding house as well. But there's something about having to get in your car and run over there that, it's just hard to think of it that way. So you're absolutely right. It really makes a difference.
Well, I'm going to lean on Ashley after the break. She's going to tell us a story that's pretty close to home and how they came to be important in her family. And even as an owner operator, they need help too. So we'll be back in a moment with more on Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meier. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hey, everybody, it's Ethan and Sarah Forhetz from your favorite podcast, Around the Ozarks in 5. I'm sure you've been wondering, how can I get even more amazing stories, events, and witty banter to start my day?
Well, look no further. Here we are. Sign up for our daily newsletter. You'll have what's going on around the Ozarks right at your fingertips each weekday morning.
Yeah, just go to aroundtheozarks.com, click on the newsletter tab to sign up.
Thanks for listening to Around the Ozarks in 5. We hope to see you in your inbox soon.
Welcome back to the second half of today's program on Around the Ozarks Spotlight. I'm your host, Scott Meier. With me, some really important people. They're important for a lot of reasons, and you'll find that out through the second half of the show. But we've got Bonnie Keller with us, who's the CEO of Ronald McDonald House Charities here in the Springfield area, and also Ashley Kalil, who's a second-generation owner-operator with McDonald's, which we talked a little bit about in the first half, that many people don't realize are small businesses. And as owner-operators, you're not part of the whole corporate scheme. You still got to pay money to McDonald's corporate, right? You still got to play by their rules. But at the end of the day, you're hiring people, you're letting people go, you're doing the things that people have to do. And today, it looks like it's really tough to find people unless you're paying them almost $20 an hour, which is a whole nother world than it used to be. It's got to be a lot of pressure on the owner-operators, I would think, on margins. Is that fair?
Oh, yes. That is a good assumption, Scott. It is a whole new ball game that we have, and we pride ourselves in being able to pay our people better than we ever have, but at the same time, it is challenging still. It's just a whole new world that we're dealing with.
Well, that smile's worth a lot of money right there. So that's the fact that you can maintain that smile in a world where it's gotten tough, a pandemic, and then you've got the inflation, you got all this other stuff going on. It's getting crazy. But we're here to talk about 1 penny per pound of fries, donating the penny per pound, how it's already generated about, what did you say, $300 and some $1,000 since 2018?
That's right.
And we were talking a little bit before the broadcast, and you had mentioned, and this is heart-filling, not heartbreaking, but heart-filling. Your situation where you worked through having to use one of the Ronald McDonald houses. Would you mind sharing a little bit of that story? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So, so my daughter was born in 2020, and before she was born, she was diagnosed with spina bifida. And so my husband and I, we had to move to St. Louis because they offered a surgery up there where they could correct her spina bifida while she was still in utero. So at 25 weeks around-ish, I went into surgery and they corrected her spina bifida, which is a huge praise to the Lord for that surgery.
Amazing.
At the time, we also had a 2-year-old son. And so our focus was, how do we keep our family together? Because once we moved up there, we were up there until she was going to be born, and her birthday was not until August. And so I remember one of my first phone calls while talking to my dad about logistics. He was like, let's call Bonnie and let's see. And it was during 2020. And so the Ronald McDonald House up in St. Louis was actually closed to people living in it. But it still provided a kind of like a lobby area where they could have coffee. There were comfortable couches, and my husband loved it. So because truly, when you are like that, when you are displaced, when you are caring for your child, but you are so uncertain of what the next hour is even going to look like.
Sure.
And then on top of that, when you have another child that you still have to make life normal for, that you still want to have dinner with every night, that you still want to be able to play in a yard, those things become so much more significant when you're caring for another kid. And so, so it cared for my husband by providing coffee and couches for him. But at the same time, it became something so critically important to our family, just because we understand the uncertainty of caring for your child. And so we ended up living about 3.5 months up in St. Louis, and it ended in wonderful miracle in the fact that my daughter is healed. She is functioning at her correct age level. She runs around and plays every day with her big brother. So we are celebrating our miracle every day.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has made Ronald McDonald House even more important in our minds, of just how do we get our restaurants to do their due diligence in that roundup, in that penny for a pound is easy. But then anytime we have any of our incentives, and one of our big things this year for our co-op, so a collection of 122 stores, we're trying to raise over $1 million. And so that comes in the form for Ronald McDonald House, and that comes in the form of penny for a pound and roundup. And so that focus is just so important to us because it has emotional ties for the family.
Well, I do believe in the song "Angels Among Us," and I've only known Bonnie for about 8 years, but she truly is an angel among us. I'm so amazed that you were part of that story too, Bonnie. And it's not even here; it's in St. Louis, which is amazing. That's got to make you feel pretty
kind. Good. Thank you.
Well,
Scott.
it's true.
So
it's
sweet.
true. I mean, when you think back on all the families you've touched in over 30 years in the position that you've been in, Bonnie, and to your point, Ashley, you've got a 2-year-old son. He doesn't know what's going on. I mean, he does. Even at 2, they've got some idea what's going on. But all you're trying to do is make his life normal, whatever normal looks like. And without the Ronald McDonald House assisting, can you imagine what that would have looked like? No. So, I mean, it's so important. It's just all the good things that happen are just so important. Bonnie, I just don't know how you're ever going to retire.
Well, I don't really have any thoughts in that direction right
now.
No,
but at some point, life gets in front of you, and it's like
reality comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Well, for the sake of the community, I hope it's not anytime soon.
Oh, you're sweet. The most amazing part of being involved is it really is such a natural thing in the community and at the houses and the tooth truck is people come to help with their hearts open, and we have so many volunteers that will just are so drawn to the families, and other families are drawn to each other, and people like McDonald's, people like you, Scott, where you've helped us. It just seems like when there's a need, people are so generous, and to be in that position to see all of that happen, can you imagine spending your life doing that? I mean, it's just been such a privilege to be able to do it, but it's truly amazing to see that so naturally happen. People talk about the way the world is today, and I guess my message is that's the way the world is today too, and there's some wonderful things happening in our community.
Well, I think the Ronald McDonald House story is one of those stories that doesn't find its way into social media enough because it is so positive. It's such a positive story, and unlike a lot of other nonprofits, it's measurable. There's a lot that have moving goalposts. You're never really sure if you're making any progress or not. But when you have a story like Ashley, it's measurable. And other people that I served with on the board, I can't remember what was the young man's name who's
Peter Connolly.
Right,
Connolly.
and they were living in Branson, weren't they? Or living down down that area, and their child is up here in Springfield. And I mean, if it wasn't for the house, what would they have done? I mean, he said it was. They
were with us over 100 nights, over 100 nights, and
so it's amazing.
Yeah, it really is, and the relationships that you see form, it's amazing to see years down the road. Those same families that were staying at the house together, it's almost like a class where they depended on each other so much, because I think one of the biggest gifts you can receive at the Ronald McDonald House is being next to a family that understands. You can look in their eyes and they truly know what you're going through, because it can be really lonely when you look back at your best friends and sometimes even your family, and they want to help you so much, and you can see in their eyes that they don't really understand what you're going through. And I've been in that position with a dear friend before, and it's a tough position to want to help and know that you don't have that shared experience. And so the houses, that's a huge gift of the houses that sometimes people don't realize.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You're hearing and viewing my guests today and Around the Ozark Spotlight. You're getting a chance to hear from Bonnie Keller, who's the CEO of Ronald McDonald House Charities, and Ashley Kalil, a second-generation owner-operator. So, Ashley, back to your story. I love it. So you have no siblings. You were raised in a McDonald's family, and you went away for a while from
Yes.
it. It sounded like you
did.
were doing something else.
Yep.
And then you were drawn back. It's almost like a Sopranos. So you left the family and they pulled you right back. What tipped you off to come back to the family business?
You are funny, Scott. So I went to college down in Texas.
Okay.
And so I'm going to bring it real full circle for you. I actually went to a post-grad school at Kanakuk Camps where Peter Connolly's wife, Marissa, worked. And,
Really?
And so I know the Connollys really well.
Sure.
And while I was there, I actually ended up going into ministry for a couple of years down in Conway, Arkansas. And then I moved back to Dallas and continued doing ministry down there and did some event planning. And I felt the Lord call me to come back because I love the Lord and I love people. Yeah. And I really felt like what a cool opportunity to speak hope and life into people than in a McDonald's. Yeah. And then I came back, and what was fun about coming back is my dad required that I start from the beginning. So I started out on French fries, our topic of conversation.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I tried to say incognito as long as possible. So I worked at the downtown location right by the baseball stadium for about a month before they figured out who I was. And then from there, I just worked through all the positions, but I realized very quickly that there is a substantial need for hope in our people, just in Springfield in general, but specifically in McDonald's. And, just hearing that there is so much life out there for them and that there is a God that loves them, just things that people weren't being told. And so, so I'm here for it. And so I have spent 10 years learning the ropes and learning that it's okay to smell like French fries at the end of the day and embracing it, but really came home because I felt I was called to. So that's where I'm here.
Well, that's a great story. You're not the first person I've had a chance to talk to about some of these things that felt a calling. And I'm always amazed at how blessed folks are to get that calling. I think that's it really says something not only about your parents and however they brought you up, the home they brought you up into, but also it says a lot about you and your spirituality. And I think that's important. It's you believe in something more important than yourself, and you're willing to give thanks. And I think any of us that have been down this road with life-threatening situations, and I think everybody on this call has been down that road. It's pretty tough not to believe in something certainly much bigger than any one of us, and give thanks when you can, before it's too late, before you can't give thanks for something because something else happens in your world. Before we go, anything we didn't touch on that has to do with the penny per pound of fries? I mean, I know it's in process. Bonnie, I think you said it's a 5-year plan to help raise money.
Well, actually, we've been doing it for 5 years,
Okay.
And we always celebrate on National French Fry Day, which is July 13th.
So I'm going to have to buy another large fry.
No, Ashley's got a deal for you.
Oh,
so she'll
really?
tell you about that.
Okay.
But we are celebrating our 5th year on July 13th, where, as Ashley mentioned, over $310,000 has been raised to support Springfield's 2 Ronald McDonald House. And then there's a little backstory for me. It's the day that I have a gotcha day for a little puppy named Charlie. And so that we'll celebrate that as well on National French Fry Day. But Ashley, you tell him a little bit about what people can do on that special day.
Yeah.
So hopefully most people have heard about the McDonald's app by now, but if you haven't, if you download the app, on National Friday, we are giving away free French fries. So on July 13th, if you open up the app, there will be a place where you can scan and you will get a free French fry. So it's a big celebration.
Yeah.
So hopefully everyone will participate as a thank you for all of the fundraising that we have been able to do, and we'll continue to do it in partnership for hopefully many years to come.
More research. I like that. What's the date again?
Yes.
What's the date?
July 13th.
July 13th is Friday. Well, I love that. And I love you
But
both.
it's not Friday.
It's not a Friday.
It's not a Friday, but it's Friday. You just have to remember
Friday.
that part.
Well, I'll have to remember that part. I want to thank you both for joining me on Around the Ozark Spotlight. Also, my producers, Taylor Worley and Jay Stevens, as well as all of you for joining us. And if you happen to miss all or part of today's program, you can always find it in its entirety on MidwestFamilySpringfield.com, the AroundTheOzarks.com site, or the new app for Around the Ozarks. Yes, you can go to the App Store and get the ATO app along with your McDonald's app if you don't have that yet. And you can hear and view today's show as well as all the other earlier shows this year and last. I am Scott Meier. I am your host. And remember, every day is a gift. Enjoy life. Thank you both. See you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.